Have you forgotten yet? For the world's events have rumbled on since those gag days, like traffic checked while at the crossing of city ways, and the haunted gap in your mind has filled with thoughts that flow like clouds in the lit heaven of life. And you're a man reprieved to go, taking your peaceful share of time with joy to spare. But the past is just the same, and war's a bloody game. Have you forgotten yet? Look down and swear by the slain of the war that you'll never forget. Do you remember the dark months you held the sector at Mametz? The nights you watched and wired and dug and piled sandbags on parapets? Do you remember the rats and the stench of corpses rotting in front of the frontline trench, and dawn coming, dirty white and chill with a hopeless rain? Do you ever stop and ask, is it all going to happen again? Do you remember that hour of din before the attack, and the anger, the blind compassion that seized and shook you then as you peered at the doomed and haggard faces of your men? Do you remember the stretcher cases lurching back with dying eyes and lolling heads, those ashen grey masks of the lads who once were keen and kind and gay? Have you forgotten yet? Look up and swear by the green of the spring that you'll never forget. With those poignant and challenging words of Siegfried Sassoon in our minds, we welcome you again to this Remembrance Day edition of the Telusk Forum. Today, Ali talks to Katy, Sally and Eluned about a course designed to support those who have experienced a bereavement. Suzanne introduces an initiative taken up by herself and some of the young people to climb Snowdon this week for charity. Helen talks to Ali about a beautiful calendar she's prepared for 2021 and provides some information on the charities she is supporting with the proceeds from the sales. Then, Vaughan plays for us and we view more examples of the outstanding photography of April Games. Finally, Jeremy talks to me about how God has revealed his glory to us. Enjoy the programme.
Hello, I'm Alison, and I've got three people here, and we're going to talk about an organisation called Loss and Hope. So I've got Katy, who is the administrator of the courses, and I've got Sally, who is helping to deliver the course. But Sally, because she does a lot of preparation with people before funerals, is very experienced in working with bereaved people. And I have Eluned, who has participated in a recent course. So we have three people all coming with a different perspective, and hopefully we'll learn more about loss and hope. So Katy, could you just tell us about the organisation and how you became involved?
Yes, I was actually contacted by a friend who is a fellow member of the Unicorn Singers, and who works for At a Loss, which is a signposting website for the bereaved to help them find sources of support. She told me that they were looking for a project manager, and I applied and got the job, and I started in August. And they're part of Loss and Hope, which is a coalition of Christian organisations which seeks to support churches, equip churches to support bereaved people. And one of the courses they use is the bereavement journey, which is a course which was created at Holy Trinity Brompton Church over 20 years ago. Oh, wow, wow. So we're hearing about lots of people dying in the pandemic at the moment, so it's very relevant this year. Have you seen the numbers of people wanting to go on the courses increase? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. In an ordinary year, 600,000 people die in the UK each year, and that's without the additional deaths from the pandemic. And a recent Co-op funeral report suggested that an estimated 9.7 million people haven't been able to attend a funeral this year when they would have done in normal circumstances. And when you add in the isolation of lockdown and social distancing, there's so many more people in need of support.
Yes, gosh, numbers are very high, aren't they?
Yeah.
Thank you. So now we know what it's about, and it's part of a national organisation, but we're bringing it down to a local level. Sally, you were one of the trainers on the pilot course in October, the first one in Wales, I think, and you're hoping to run another course, probably January. Now, your ministry to elderly people, you obviously work with people who are bereaved and preparing for funerals. Did you find that this is a useful course for bereaved people?
It's a very helpful course. The pilot that I took was with HTB to see if I could run it locally. And the first course that we will be running now will be in January. I found the course materials very, very helpful. They're very comprehensive, but they're also very sensitive. And so the materials cover pretty much all kinds of bereavement. And I would recommend it to all ages, although the group that I had, we did have some older people in that group. So it was very, very good.
Sorry, what sort of topics are covered by the course?
Okay, so the course is 6 weeks, and it's each session has 2 videos in it, with a break, a coffee break in the middle. So it's video, discussion, break, video, discussion, break. And there are 5 sessions which are purely on loss and bereavement, very, very sensible guidance and advice. So the first session was looking at loss. The second session is looking at the pain of grief and how it feels. The third session is the pain of grief and how we can deal with it. The fourth session is coping with change. And then the 5th session is moving forward. Now, each of those sessions have no faith content, and we were advised by HTB not to have any faith content in there. So if people want to discuss their faith, we had to try and quietly close them down. But the 6th session, which is an optional session, so you have to opt in for it, is all about faith questions. So if you want to look at all the questions that people raise when somebody has died who they love, and the 6th session is all about where God comes into it. And so those were the 6 sessions.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll talk about the course in January and how we can access that. But Eluned, you agreed to participate in this pilot course. Were you confident about that or a bit apprehensive?
I was very apprehensive, actually. I applied for a previous course, but chickened out. I just wasn't ready to actually make myself vulnerable. I wasn't ready to take my armour off. But Sally encouraged me, and I realised that vulnerability isn't about weakness, it's about strength.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think that'll be useful to people who are wondering whether this is right for them or not. So having got there and taken part, was it of benefit to you?
Oh, definitely, undoubtedly. I'm far more confident. I realise that tackling problems needs to be done straight away, otherwise things get worse. Throughout our lives, you know, we lose people that we love, both family and friends.
And of course, there are recognisable stages of bereavement, but in terms of time and how people are affected, it's different for everyone. There isn't a formula, is there?
No.
And some things are very sensitive and difficult to share. And some people find they benefit from talking with others when they've tried to struggle on their own. So overall, would you recommend it for people who've been bereaved?
Definitely. Can I just give you another quote? Some years after the death of King George VI, Queen Elizabeth, Queen Mother, was asked, does grief get better? And her reply was, it doesn't get better, but we get better at it. And I think that is a very, very telling statement, actually. It's a journey. It's not sort of getting on and getting off. I think the journey continues, but the course gives tools by which one can actually continue the journey throughout as long as it takes.
Eluned, Sally said that some people do the 5 sessions and the 6th one is optional for people of faith or people who are perhaps inquiring about faith. What would you say about that as somebody who has a faith? Did you find that session valuable?
Yes, very valuable. People were honest, and many of us admitted to the fact that our faith might have been rocked. It's a time when everything, I think, in our lives takes a tumble. It's rather like looking at the sky on a cloudy day and not seeing the sun. In our better moments, we realize that the sun has never moved. It's always there. And that's the same with God. He doesn't leave us or forsake us. He takes our hand, even although perhaps at that particular time we want to hide away. His love is from everlasting to everlasting. And he says, I will always be with you.
Going back to you, Katy, this is a national organisation and we've just had the one course in Wales and Sally is planning one for January. Could you tell people how they could go about applying for the course if they were interested, please?
Yes, absolutely. As far as we know, Sally's course in January is going to be the first one in Wales, run locally. And anyone who wants to know more or to book can contact Sally or myself. We'll help them.
Good. Thank you. So it sounds so far as if this is a recommended course. And Sally, this is something that churches can offer to the community by the sound of it, something that's really relevant. Do you think there is an optimum time after bereavement? Should people wait a little while before they go on a course?
There isn't any, as you said, bereavement is very individual. I think HTB recommend that you have had a 3-month period, but people can come on this course at any point after their bereavement, and several people decide to do the course again. So they may do it once and they might find sometime later that they would like to revisit it. I have somebody who would like to revisit the course. And so it's open for people at any point in their bereavement journey, and it's offered as many times as they feel that they need it.
Yeah, of course it's on Zoom at the moment, but I presume it will be offered later face-to-face. Is that right?
Yes, it will.
Yes,
it will. At the moment we can only offer it on Zoom.
Yes.
But when I'm able to do face-to-face with groups, it will be offered as a face-to-face thing, which I think probably suits me better. But it might be that we run both.
Yes.
That we run one face-to-face group and one Zoom group.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
We have churches across the country doing that. Actually, they run a Zoom course at the same time, or following on from a face-to-face course.
Right. So thank you very much for sharing about this. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Hello, my name is Suzanne, and I'd just like to take a few minutes to tell you a little bit about a challenge that I and 3 of St Ed's Youth Group are undertaking this next week. Izzy, Molly, Ubab and I have decided to use our spare energy during these restrictive times to climb Mount Snowdon. Yep, you heard me right, all 3,560 feet of it each. Because of the restrictions, that will involve us each taking 475 flights of stairs up and down in our independent houses to reach the summit. We are beginning on November the 8th, and by the time this programme goes out on Wednesday, we should be just over halfway up Snowdon. We plan to meet on the summit on Saturday the 14th, which is designed to coincide with the Tearfund big quiz that is taking place that evening. Now, some of you might be wondering, why on earth would we be doing this? What is the point of doing this? Well, coronavirus can be quite stressful and quite frustrating for all of us at times. Schooling has been interrupted more than once, exams have been cancelled, sporting activities that we love, in my case tennis, are not available at the moment. And being unable to see family members has been really difficult for me. Not to see my mum very often, not to see my children and my grandchildren. I guess all of us have got lots of different challenges. I wonder what feels your greatest frustration or challenge in this time of restrictions. However, we all live in a part of the world that has got so many more resources and capabilities than other parts of the world in order to respond to COVID-19. And so, by climbing Snowdon, we are fundraising for Tearfund so that people living in poverty at the moment will be better equipped to deal with the devastation that coronavirus brings. Living in poverty is a mountain itself to climb every single day, day in and day out. But we are now starting to see the huge impact that coronavirus is having on some of our world's poorest communities. In places with poor healthcare and very limited infrastructure, the potential for devastation just increases. I mean, imagine the very idea of just self-isolating when you already live in a greatly overcrowded home. Imagine if you don't have a fridge or a freezer so you can stock up and stay at home. It's not possible. You have to go out every day to get food if you can afford it. And as for hygiene, this is really difficult. I mean, even hand washing, if you don't have soap or any form of running water, is very challenging. Again, well, you might be wondering, well, how do 4 people in Crickhowell virtually climbing Mount Snowdon really going to make much of a difference to this situation? Well, by sponsoring us, you will be helping Tearfund's work. Tearfund is a Christian aid and development agency that responds to disasters, but it also helps communities to unlock their own potential to overcome poverty, which is really important. In the developing world, you get a lot more bangs for your buck than you do here. So any donation, whether it's large or small, will make a huge difference. For example, for just £3, Tearfund can provide a family that's living in poverty with the hygiene essentials for a whole month. And for £120, they're able to promote hygiene practices in a village, provide food for families that should be in quarantine, and build hand washing stations in the local area. If you check out our Just Giving page, which is The Climb, St Ed's Youth 2020, you will see a simple and really practical picture of Tippy Tap that Tearfund have devised just for this purpose. Well, let's now hear a few words from Izzy and Ubab, who are also doing the climb.
Hi, my name is Izzy and I'm a student at Crickell High School. I decided to participate in the climbs to help raise money for the charity Tearfund. I'm usually using all my energy in participating sports, mainly gymnastics. However, due to COVID-19, everything has halted. So instead, I'm using all my energy on climbing 475 flights of stairs, the equivalent to climbing Snowdon. Which is all I...
Hey, so my name is Ubab, and I'm taking part on this walk for Tearfund, raising money, and I've been asked to say a few words for why I'm doing this and about lockdown. And I want to start with the lockdown and how frustrating it is for someone who, for me, I play a lot of basketball and a lot of sport, so not being allowed out is really frustrating and annoying. And then with school and exams missed, it's quite annoying having your future taken out of your hands. But what can you do? So yeah, this is why one of the reasons I wanted to do this was because it would keep me entertained, keep me energetic and fit, really. So yeah, and also helping people is at the same time I think is very important, because no matter how bad it is for me, there's people out there that are going through a lot worse. So always keep people in mind and always being mindful of others. So yeah, that's why I'm doing it.
Thanks, guys. Hopefully see you all on the summit on Saturday. God loves all people everywhere, and he's made it really clear in the Bible in verses such as Micah chapter 6 verse 8 that he really wants us to share with his heart for justice, for mercy and for care of the poor, and also that he wants us personally to walk closely with him in our everyday lives each day. So, as we four climb this week, please do join with us in helping to make a difference to those that are in the greatest of need at the moment. You can do this by donating on our Just Giving page. If you Google Just Giving and then search for The Climb, St Ed's Youth 2020, you'll find us right there. Just follow the instructions to donate. If that's not your thing and donating online is difficult, but you still would like to give, please write a cheque made payable to Tearfund and just drop it through my letterbox sometime this week or next week. My address is 3 The Paddocks, Brecon Road, Crickell. Thank you very much for listening.
Hello, welcome back to Telusk. I'm going to be talking to Helen. Helen of the poems and the photographs she contributes to Telusk, has contributed quite a few times. And Helen has put together her skills, and she's going to explain what she's been doing in preparation for Christmas. You're very creative, Helen. Well, that stated your poetry and your photographs on Telusk.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Alison. That's very kind of you. Well, for quite a number of years at Christmas, I have made calendars. I've also had workshops to make door wreaths and various things that I like to do for mainly these smaller charities that I try and support. But this year, I thought I'd try and put some poetry in as well as the photographs, the ones you may have seen on the back page of the parish magazine.
Yes, yes.
Anyway, this year on holiday, we had a few days in Anglesey, and we were very fortunate we had lovely weather. So I took some photographs there, and the other ones in there are from our gardens we visited, and also the River Severn at Newnham. So if you'd like, I can show you a few of those.
Yes, please, let's have a look.
Okay then. The first one is Cadnant Gardens in Anglesey.
Gosh, that's beautiful. Wow, what colour?
It was lovely, actually. It's a beautiful. I thoroughly recommend it if anyone wants to go. And this is, you can guess which season this is.
That's the autumn. Yes.
Definitely,
that's November.
Yes. And then my old friend has made the back page.
Ah, good old Harry.
Harry, he's been here as long as we have almost, so he's our great companion. So yeah, and then that's just one more random page.
Oh, lovely.
Again, a flower from the cabinet gardens.
Yes.
So, yeah, there we go.
Beautiful. Thank you. So you're hoping to sell calendars and donate to chosen charities. I think you've chosen 2, and you're going to tell us about those?
Yes, thank you, Alison. I'd love to have the opportunity to talk about these 2 small charities that often get overlooked, and they do actually do vital and life-saving work. The first of these is Papyrus. Now, we support these charities because our family and our wider family have been directly affected. So Papyrus is the prevention of young suicide, and it was set up by parents of children who had lost their children to suicide, which is the biggest killer of young people under the age of 35 in the UK. It's not many people realise that. No. Sadly is increasing. Papyrus aims to support those with suicidal thoughts and their families by a dedicated phone line called Hope Line UK. This can be accessed 365 days of the year from 9 until midnight. They also engage with communities in suicide prevention projects, and they hope to raise the profile at national level by lobbying. Last year, I went on a walk in Cardiff, which was the inauguration of the new office for Wales, which is in Cardiff. And it was really quite a powerful statement. And numbers of people came up to say, oh, you know, we know someone who's been bereaved by suicide, and thank you for raising the profile. And this is the very latest this week. The charity had this from a young person. If I hadn't picked up the phone, I really think I would have ended my life. But I feel able to keep myself safe tonight, so thank you so much. Wow. So it is vital work. Thank you. Yeah. The second charity that I've supported for a number of years is BEAT. This is the one that helps those and their families suffering with eating disorders. A cumbersome term, but this incorporates anorexia, bulimia, and mixed eating disorders, which affect males as well as females, and 1.25 million people are suffering with this. And anorexia is one of the biggest killers of any mental illness. And so Beat 2 has a helpline to call for assistance, and that's 365 days a year too. And so if you can get treatment straight away or very early on in the illness, then there's a big chance of recovery, and this is vital. So these are the 2 charities I'd like to promote. And in lockdown, we know that mental health troubles are growing, and so this is why I wanted to raise the profile. So anyway, the calendars are fun, funky, in the downstairs cloakroom, and they may not be David Bailey or anyone else, but they're mine. And so hopefully you buy them. Anyway, thank you.
I think we'll put, maybe we can put contact details up in writing after this of those 2 charities, because they may not be widely known, but thank you. That,
brilliant.
You gave a very powerful message from both of them.
Thank you.
So people will want to buy calendars and they can't go to the shop or church Christmas fair or whatever this year. So how can people contact you to buy a calendar?
Well, I'm very happy to give my email here. That might be the best way. And then if I can get the checks, I will send share the money out equally. I'm also putting a piece in the parish magazine for December and January. Right. But obviously before that might be better, mightn't it? You know, November might be a good time. Yes. So I think my email address would probably be the best way at the moment.
So we can put that up in writing at the end of this as well.
Is that okay? Thank you very much.
If you're happy with that, yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, very worthwhile project, bringing together your different creative skills. So thank you for sharing that with us.
You're very welcome to the project. Yeah, thank you, Alison. Goodbye, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, Jeremy, it's great to welcome you to the Telusk Forum again. This
Thank you,
is
Julian.
Remembrance Week, and clearly we focus very much on remembrance on Sunday, and to some extent, it's a day when we look back. And I think you've got something for us today that will raise our thoughts and hopes as we look at God's glory. So, would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, well, I think this desire to see glory is a very deep desire in people. You know, and you see people that travel vast distances to go to some extraordinary scenery. You know, mountaineers often say the reason they do it, apart from the fact it's there, is to see the view from the mountaintop. You know, they're there on the top and it's, wow, look at this. You know, we're here. That's, if you like, a vision of glory in a way. You know, why do we put such vast expense into space exploration? I mean, it's pretty pointless, a lot of it. So why do it? Everyone is amazed by it, though. Everyone loves it. You know, there's this huge desire for it, this huge popularity for pictures of stars. Why? But I think it's right. I think it's this desire to see glory, to see wonder.
Yeah.
And I think Moses, you know, in the Old Testament, Moses made that amazing request after he saw extraordinary things. You know, Moses was actually there at the burning bush, and that started him off. But then he saw the plagues on Egypt, the mighty acts of judgment, as God said it. He saw the plague on the firstborn, the absolute devastation of the people of Egypt as they lost their firstborn son, their heartbreak. You know, he saw the cloud resting over the people. He saw the darkness on the land, the darkness so thick it could be felt. He saw the sea part, the people go through on dry land, and then the army of Egypt obliterated. Then he actually saw the Lord on the pavement of sapphire with the elders of Israel, and they ate together in front of him. And he went up the mountain. He saw the glory of the Lord, quote unquote, descend on the mountain. He saw the fire on top and the smoke and the cloud. And he went up and he was up there for 40 days. He saw the tablets of stone and he came back. And when he saw the golden calf, he smashed them and all this kind of stuff. And you think, well, wow, hasn't he seen something already? And then at the end of all that, having seen all those things himself, having been personally part of everything there, he then says to God, show me your glory. I think, well, did I miss something? Haven't I seen it already? And he felt something was lacking, you know, this desire to really penetrate to the heart of the mystery of the glory and the wonder and the splendor and the majesty of God. He realized he hadn't got there yet. There's something missing. What am I missing? He's thinking. Show me your glory, he says to God. And the Lord doesn't show him it. He says, no one can see me and live. Which must be a bit of an anticlimax to a big request like, show me your glory. But then the Lord says, I'll tell you my name. That's the response to this request. The Lord answers his request and says, I'll tell you my name. And then he says, the Lord, a God, merciful and gracious, slow to anger, of loving kindness. And then he says this kind of paradox at the end. He says, as part of his glory, this is God showing Moses his glory. He says, showing mercy to thousands, and yet not acquitting the guilty. And if you think about that, how can God show mercy and be gracious? He's already said he's compassionate, all this kind of thing. And he says he always prosecutes the guilty. How can those two things sit side by side? How can God's justice always condemn evil and simultaneously show mercy to evildoers?
Do you think the New Testament gives us any hints as to how those two things can be together and work together? I mean, we've today, have we got anything that will give us a more tangible sense of God's glory?
Well, I heard a talk recently, and I can't claim the credit for drawing these things to myself, by a man called Mark Pickles, who's director of Northeast Gospel Fellowship. And he then takes this idea, show me your glory, and he takes it through to the prayer in Gethsemane with Jesus, where Jesus actually says, my hour has come. Lord, show your glory. I'd never thought of those two things side by side before. I'd never thought of Moses' request, Lord, show me your glory, to Jesus' prayer to the Father in Gethsemane before his crucifixion, talking about the Lord, the Father, the Son, revealing, showing, displaying their glory. And suddenly it hit me. This is the answer to Moses' prayer. Jesus willingly accepts the cup, and he goes forward willingly to the cross. And willingly, he dies our death. God's wrath on evil, God's judgment, God's hatred of evil, because God is good. You know, I don't know if we really take what that means. God is good. Now, we're not good. There's a part of us which actually likes evil. You know, we're actually quite cozy at times with a bit of evil, a little touch of it, you know, a little frisson occasionally, it doesn't do us any harm kind of thing. And that we're comfortable with that. We live in that environment. But God does not. God utterly is intolerable of evil. And therefore, his utter hatred and condemnation of evil are there in Jesus on the cross. Every bit of evil in history is condemned on the cross. God's wrath is poured out on every evil thing that has ever been done. And God's wrath is satisfied. And at the same time, Jesus did this out of his loving kindness, his mercy, his compassion, our suffering and our death. And so that is the Lord's glory, that he is merciful and kind and gentle and extends his loving kindness to all his people. And he utterly rejects and condemns and destroys evil. And on the cross, you see that. The people there actually saw what happened. They didn't understand, but they actually stood there and saw this happen. That centurion saw the wrath of God and the mercy of God meet together in the Son of God. And that is God's glory. And then Jesus rose from the dead. This is the heart of the mystery. This is where everything comes together. This is where the wrath, mercy, goodness, beauty, the glory, the Father, the Son, the Spirit, this is where they all meet together in one place. And God shows us his glory